Jesus and the unfruitful fig tree, or the barren fig tree. You can read it yourself. I'm going to highlight one thing many of us miss when we talk about this parable. Okay, so Jesus and the disciples, they were on their way to Jerusalem. Why? Christ had a mission to fulfill. So Christ and his disciples were on their way to Jerusalem. On their way, Christ became hungry because God in human form also had human requirements like we have too. So Christ saw this tree from afar. The fact he saw it from afar means it was a tall tree. He recognized it's a fig tree because it had leaves on it that are characteristics of fig trees. So he rushed to the tree. He climbed the tree. The fact he had to climb the tree means that it was a tall tree. It wasn't just any small tree that similar to a bush or whatever. It was a tall tree. He had to climb it. He went through the leaves, but he found no fruit. Christ was not only exhausted from walking all the way to Jerusalem, he was also more exhausted now because he was hungry, and he made all this effort climbing the tree, and there's no fruit. Most people would think at this point, oh my God. Now, Christ made a decree shutting down that tree forever. Now, Christ said that in eternity nobody will ever eat fruit from that tree again. Hold on a minute, Christ. There was no fruit on it to begin with. So what fruit was Christ talking about? And there was no fruit on the tree. Okay. Remember, Christ was doing what? He was on his way to Jerusalem to complete his mission. So Christ, on his way to complete his mission, he got distracted and hindered by this tree that was at the right place at the right time, but had no content. So the fruit Christ mentioned that nobody would eat from that tree again, it had nothing to do with the physical figs that it should have. Because remember, when a fig tree has leaves, there should be fruit on it too, especially a tall tree like that. So the fruit Christ was referring to is the hinder the tree caused to many people. And guess what? 24 hours later, the whole tree was rotten from the core, completely. It wasn't this tall, beautiful tree with many leaves anymore. That may trick you into thinking there's fruit on it. And when you come, you're disappointed. Now, one question. If a tree is tall with a lot of leaves, that means there's fertile ground over there. How come there's only three over there like that? Should there be more tall trees over there? Look, in nature, trees tend to grow together. Even in parks, which are man-made, planted, they tend to plant trees together. How come you have this tall tree with beautiful leaves, beautiful green leaves on it, but it's the only one around, isolated? Okay, I know some trees can grow in isolation because maybe in the past someone was eating some fruit and threw out the seed and, a tree grew. I know it can happen, but that's a bit odd. It does have to be a red flag, but it's a bit odd. But here's the thing about this fig tree. This fig tree was a hinder because it tricks you into thinking there's content that benefits you while there was no beneficial content. Now, what does this fig tree symbolize? Now, this happened in real life, okay? But this real life event, and you know what? Christ knew there were no fruit on that tree because he's God himself, but he acted this way to teach us something. What does this teach us? It teaches us to examine who comes into our lives. Let me give a parable. Let's say you're a young woman, okay? Or any woman, and you've been without a man for a while. You're a believer now. You want to remain sexually healthy and sexually stable. You don't want to go hoeing around or going from man to man. So you just want a stable man. You want a husband. Good. So you have your requirements, your expectations. You meet a guy. He ticks all your boxes. He's tall, well spoken, highly educated, handsome. He is in good standing with the community. He knows how to make money. He's also respected by the public. So he takes all your boxes, think, wow, that's great. Let me give another parable. I'm going to give from a male perspective. You're a man and you want to be sexually stable too, and you encounter a woman. She's young, fertile, beautiful, sexy, hot. She's also well spoken. She knows how to cook and clean. So she's housewife material. So you think, wow. In both cases, a female believer found a male believer that ticks her boxes. In this case, you have a male believer finding a female believer that ticks all his boxes. There is one thing, however, that's missing. There is one question they haven't asked. How will my involvement with this individual benefit God's will for my life? Let's go to the first parable. This female believer encounters male believer, ticks all her boxes. There's one big red flag. How come this man is tall, handsome, highly educated, wealthy, with good standing community? How come he has so much ease in life? Why is there no resistance, no retaliation against him? Here it comes. This man is compromised. He concedes to society's restrictions. And because he concedes to society's restrictions, he's not perceived as a threat. That's why people are okay with him. So he's not capable of leading anyone, especially not his wife. So this man will not benefit this female believer at all because he can't even lead her. And because he's bound to society's restrictions, this affects his sexual well-being too. He faces financial pressure and financial stress, as already explained to you. It kind of damages your sexual health. It damages your virility as a man. So this female believer thinks she found a good deal, or she thinks her prayers have been answered by the Heavenly Father, but actually it's a distraction sent to her by the demons. The demons push this man into her life to hinder her. Because remember, just like Jesus was on his way to Jerusalem to complete his mission, this woman, this female believer, wants to complete her mission doing the will of the Heavenly Father. But this man does not benefit her doing the will of the Heavenly Father because this man is a hinder unto her. And it's only after they're married that she figures out, hold on a minute, how come we're arguing so often? Or let's say there are no arguments, they're in total harmony. She knows that we don't get ahead in life at all. It's then she realizes that she has been hindered for years. And then there's a divorce, with all the painful consequences that come with a divorce. She could have avoided wasting those years and those painful divorce memories by just asking that one question from the start. How will this man benefit God's will for my life? Same with the man, with his female believer. This woman ticks all his boxes, but hold on. If this woman is so pretty, so hot, sexy, so if she's housewife material, how come she's still by herself? What goes on? Well, this woman, obviously, she has some defects that are not addressed. So the man goes through the honeymoon phase with her, they get married, all of that, and then later on, he finds out she's the type of woman that doesn't address issues, she just walks away. Or she becomes passive aggressive without it being needed. Or she's the type of woman that tends to look sad and people have pity on her and not blame the man. And now he figures out that's why she was all by herself, because all her ex-partners, they all looked bad because she looked sad or neglected, and people blamed the man. So he now figures out all this dysfunction about her, and also how she's been neglected by her community. So now all the red flags come up after he's ready with her. But if he would have calmed down and admit, okay, this woman ticks all my boxes, but you know what? Will she benefit God's will for my life? Now, this does not only apply to sexual relationships, it applies to all human encounters you have. Will this individual, I'm saying, will my involvement with this individual benefit God's will for my life? That's the one question we need to ask over and over again. The fact we don't ask this question means that we are easily deceived. Now understand, Christ was on his way to Jerusalem. In human form, God had human requirements, which also implies he needs physical food. So that's why Christ got hungry. Now, as a human being, doing the will of Heavenly Father, you're a human being with human requirements. I don't talk about the physical requirements, but I'm talking about the physical requirements are there. We know that. I also talk about your soul requirements, the need to connect with other people, the need for sexual connection, the need to be understood, to be valued, to be appreciated. Those are valid human requirements. And there's nothing wrong with you admitting your human needs. But guess what? You should not be focused on your human needs. You should be focused on Him who supplies in all your needs according to His riches and glory. Christ is the provider and supplier. You should focus on Him who provides and supplies. Instead, you focus on your need. And because you focus on your need, you develop a poverty mindset. And this mindset itself blocks you from receiving solutions. And now, because you're blocked from receiving solutions, you end up falling for any low life deal demons offer you. Look, you have human requirements, you have human needs, but don't be focused on human needs. Focus on Him who provides and supplies. And understand, people in the world are damaged and dysfunctional. That's what they are. Are there people who are whole and healthy? Yes, there are. Are there honorable people? Yes. Not everyone in the world is a narcissist or creep or whatever, no. But overall, people out there are damaged and dysfunctional. So sometimes you will have to endure some of their dysfunction. You may be new at a job, and there are some colleagues that you don't really get along with because they're a bit dysfunctional. They tend to, you just don't mesh with them. But guess what? If you're in conflict with your colleagues, it may end up to your job being terminated. And guess what? At this moment, you don't have any other social income yet. So now you have more financial difficulties. So as long as God has not provided another source of income yet, you get along with those people. It doesn't mean you condone nor, enable their dysfunction, their defects, but you simply bear with them without it being at your expense. I'm not telling you to bear with them at your own expense, but bear with them as long as it's healthy and keep going. Because even if you're right, at the end of the day, you have a requirement. And that job fulfills that requirement for now. If God hasn't provided something else yet, stay with what you have. Or else you make it too difficult unto yourself. Or let's say now that you move into a new neighborhood and you have all these children roaming around and you get upset. But guess what? Those children are the adults of tomorrow. If you act distant towards those children because they're a bit annoying or they're a bit rude or whatever, listen. If you treat children properly, they'll always remember that. I'm not telling you to involve yourself with the children because in some cases they may even look suspicious. I'm not telling you to do that. What I'm telling you is be frank towards everyone, also towards the children. You don't have to talk to them, be involved with them because they're children, but act well towards them. Even when the children are a bit loud, a bit uncomfortable, or a bit rude, all that, just be well with the children. Because it can be that it's those same children who are teenagers and adults later on that will stand up for you and talk on your behalf when you have a need. What if 20 years from now, you're about to be evicted from your house? But guess what? One of those children who used to be a loudmouth there in the neighborhood now is a lawyer. And that child was now a grown man and a lawyer stands up for you saying, hold on a minute, there's a loophole over here. But what if 20 years ago you were kind of distant saying, I don't like these children. Children don't have respect, and that. Guess what? That child would have felt uncomfortable around you, and that child would have even been thinking about you. And now, because you've done it 20 years ago, now you're missing out on a blessing. So what I'm saying is that we have to look at the bigger picture always and understand the one question we always need to ask is, how will my involvement with this individual benefit God's will for my life? If you have a hard time answering that with a yes or a confirmation, then that means that it's likely not beneficial for you to even be involved with this individual. If you have to be involved because they're your colleague at work, or they're your employer, or they're a relative, or they live in neighborhoods, then have partial involvement for practical reasons, and that's it. If even partial involvement is not safe, no involvement at all. But don't fully engage them. Look, we need to be firm about these things. How will my involvement with this individual or these people benefit God's will for my life? Always ask that question. Ask that question, you don't end up with a barren victory. So you don't end up with blessing blockers that appear to be blessings. Because sometimes we end up with relationships or human involvement that blocks us and weighs us down and even damages us. We can avoid all that hinder, all that damage by asking that one proper question ahead and by being open to the guidance of the Holy Spirit. Now listen, your mission in life also affects other people. If you don't do your part, somewhere there are people missing out, suffering loss. So it's not just about you. Do not engage unfruitful victories. Do not engage them. That's it for now. Keep agreeing with Christ and be at peace.